Well, hello there, motherfuckers, and I've got some great news for anybody who's a fan of Static X, including myself. So, if you remember, back in November 2014, I had to put out a very solemn, sad video where one of my favorite musicians of all time, Wayne Static, passed away. Easily a top 10 metal band for me, Static X. Just the sound, the vocals, the melody. It was a band that didn't do anything like crazy as far as like solos that like Dave Mustaine or anything like that, but there was something about that music that was always very I don't know, it penetrated me. It made me appreciate their music and fall in love with it. And for all the albums that they put out, including the very underappreciated solo effort he put out, where it was just Wayne Static Pighammer. I thought that Wayne was a guy that it didn't matter if he had his band members or not. He was gonna make a creative effort, and he did. But now it's 4 years later, and I think I might have even mentioned in that video, I was just hoping and praying that one day that we'd be able to hear Wayne Static once again in the new song. Because there were unreleased songs, if you search hard enough on YouTube, you could find a few. But you know that, like, every artist, like, look at Michael Jackson, for example, and Prince, there's unreleased material, there's B-sides, there's always going to be things like that, and that's exactly what we're getting. Unreleased material, songs that were intended to either be for a another Wayne Static solo effort, or perhaps there was going to be, a Static X reunion of sorts that was in talks. When Wayne died, he was actually starting up a new Static X with completely new band members, but now the original band members have returned. The original drummer, the original guitarist, the lead guitarist that would accompany Wayne in a great deal of their albums, and Tony Campbell, the bassist, who has come forward as the spokesperson for Project Regeneration. And I'm not sure if this is going to be the name of the album or just the project itself, but they've got big plans. It looks like not only are they kind of just doing this for nostalgia and to, pay their respects to Wayne, but it appears that they're actually going to try to maybe resurrect the band, which would be great. The only thing that scares me is if they're going to do that, who's going to be the vocalist. So Tony has discussed what he plans to do as far as how it goes to completing this album, because they have a lot of material, I think, of Wayne singing, but some of these songs are incomplete. So what they're going to do is they're going to do some features. So they've contacted David Draymond, the lead singer of Five Finger Death Punch. I don't remember his name because I'm not really a big fan of that band. I like a few songs from them. But they've also actually contacted Des Ferrara from Devil Driver and Cold Chamber, which has got me really super fucking excited. That would be an amazing collaboration. We go back to talking about top tens, and Devil Driver is definitely on there, so that's amazing. I would have liked to see them reach out to Fear Factory, maybe for Bird and Sea Bell, but sadly, that doesn't seem like that's in the works. Something is really missed with Fear Factory at the moment, so I could kind of see why they're not reaching out to them. The members are kind of dispersed. There was a lot of infighting. They also tried a reunion and it didn't fold. See, that's the good thing. At least these guys could come together, and I don't know if like all the other members were like infighting, but they definitely fought with Static over creativity issues. So it's nice though that now they're coming together. It's a little late. It's 4 years later, so I don't know exactly why. But it always seems like things like this happen. Like but we're lucky we're getting it now, and it's not happening in 20 years when it's going to be completely irrelevant. Because I'm going to be perfectly honest. Static X was a band that had quite a bit of success, but they weren't on the level of Korn or a Slipknot or a Disturbed, and they're definitely not on the level of like a band that took many years to get back together, like Black Sabbath or the original Guns N' Roses. So 20 years and they would seem to be pretty irrelevant. So, I'm looking right now, the video they put on YouTube, it got 70,000 views, but you could tell if it was a bigger band, they probably would have got even more than that. So, that's a little bit depressing to me. But I think they're going to make what they're looking for as far as revenue to be able to do a U.S. tour. See, the album is pretty much confirmed at this point, but the tour is kind of like they've kind of announced it, but they're kind of putting it on hold. They've put out a lot of merchandise and stuff, So, I mean, I'm going to be sure probably I might buy a piece of merchandise for them to try to support them. They're also doing something like, if you buy like a bunch of their shit, they're like, and really support them, they're going to put you in the linear notes of the CD. So, I don't know how many people are actually going to buy a physical CD anymore. If anybody's buying any type of physical media, they're probably buying vinyl. So I'm surprised they didn't talk about like a vinyl release for this, because that probably would have done better than a CD at this stage in the game. Because actually, it seems to me like a lot of people actually collect vinyl as it relates to metal just as much as any of these other, fad vinyl hipster collectors. What like I once thought. There's actually quite a few people that actually still buy vinyl, no matter what type of music it is. I used to think it was just hipsters like buying their favorite indie bands, on vinyl, but apparently not. So the one thing that really worries me is who they're going to pick as the lead singer on, for if they end up doing the tour. That's going to be a really interesting pick. Now I know, like, a lot of people are going to say, "Oh, well, they always end up picking a sound alike or something like that," but not always. A lot of times it doesn't fit. Like, for example, Alice in Chains, they make some pretty good music nowadays, but without their original lead singer, I can never really get back into them. Also, another band that I really like that a lot of people disagree with, Asking Alexandria. They they changed their lead singer, when Danny Worsnop left the band to pursue, We Are Harlot and, other ventures. He ended up coming back, but when the other guy took over, it was not the same. I saw them live and I was like, ugh. It wasn't terrible, but it definitely wasn't good, because then I saw them like a year later with Danny when he finally came back, and I was like, this is great. I was so happy to see him back in the band, and it was like the performance was like, this was the other guy, this was Danny. It was great. But whoever they pick, I mean, it might be somebody good. It's definitely going to be interesting, because Wayne had a very unique voice, a very interesting way of singing, a very melodic type of voice where he would like scream, he would yell, he would, be able to sing super melodic, softly. He had a lot of range. You could tell that he probably, he couldn't really sing maybe like a David Draymond type of deal, but he definitely had a certain, range to his voice where he could do a number of different styles. So it's going to be very hard to replace, because I mean, when you're dealing with a band, especially a band like Static X, where that was their only lead singer. It's not like a band like Drowning Pool where they went through, various lead singers and stuff like that. Um, and you had a lot of different changes going on in numerous other bands. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see. And like I'm saying, when you got a band like this that's one of your favorites, you're going to tend to worry about exactly who they're going to pick. So I'm happy they're doing this project. I definitely hope they meet their goal. I'm pretty sure they will for a U.S. tour. I don't know about an international tour, but I'm sure one way or the other they'll actually manage to maybe get it together, and they might be able to put something together that might work. So, and I'll be sure to not miss that one. I mean, to me, this is like my last chance. I'm very, very sad always when I listen to Static X, and You know, I missed out on the opportunity of seeing Wayne. I had a few of my friends who actually got the pleasure of seeing him before he passed away. Um, so, you know, it's one last chance. I won't be able to see Wayne, but you know, that would be really cool if they could restart the band. I've always, you know, I've been a supporter. I always said, like with Pantera, that they should have just done the band. I mean, you still got Phil Anselmo alive. It doesn't matter if you don't have Dimebag. You know, I think like these members who passed away, I think that they would appreciate the show to still go on, and they would probably want that. I think that's what Wayne would want. I think he'd be very happy to see what's going on right now. So there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed this little bit of news, and I hope you're excited like I am. So if you enjoyed this video, it's been a while since we did a video on music. Um, Subscribe, and if you've been subscribed in the past and magically you're unsubscribed, please resubscribe, because YouTube seems to be doing that as of late to me, and they're really hurting me as I try to grow this channel and try to meet my goal by the end of the year, which is 6,000 subscribers. Also, click the bell so you get all notifications when I post my new videos. Check out some of the other videos I posted here, and until next time, guys.